guess stopping water is like, obviously that is a massive, I'm not going to downplay like that is a miracle. Like that would look incredible. You'd be like, Yahweh heaped water. He just heaped the water up on itself. That's incredible. Hey folks, welcome to Joel Reads Bible. I'm Joel, and that's right, I read Bible so that you don't have to. You can, but you don't have to. You could, maybe even if you've been raised in the cult, maybe you should, because it's pretty obviously nonsense, but we're getting into some really fun stuff because we're now in Joshua, and we're reading chapter 4, and we're getting ready to go into battle. It's taking a little longer than I had hoped. I kind of hoped that we would already be in Canaan right now, slicing up throats, but we're just heading towards Jericho. And last chapter, we had a rehash of the parting of the Red Sea. So, at least it's not like telling you how to build a temple and then describing that they do exactly how it was described of how they should build the temple. At least it's not doing that, right? This is no Exodus or Leviticus. This is something that's moving a little quicker, as somebody took over the writing of this book, and they're better, okay? They're a little bit more efficient. Now I'm wanting a bit more detail, actually. But let's get right into it. It's Joshua chapter 4, and I think it's going to be a real exciting one. When all the nation had completely crossed over the Jordan, Yahweh spoke to Joshua, saying, "Take 12 men out of the people, a man out of every tribe, and command them, saying, Take from out of the middle of the Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones, carry them over with you and lay them down in the place where you'll camp tonight." Now, I don't know why Yahweh's doing that kind of voice for Joshua. It doesn't seem entirely accurate because, like, most people find Joshua very charming and very cool, but Yahweh kind of made him like a little slightly whiny, I find. And I think that what it is he's trying to knock Joshua down a peg or two just by doing a bad impression of his voice. These are the types of mind games that Yahweh probably plays. You don't get that when you're just reading the text, but when you put on voices while reading the text, it becomes very obvious. When Joshua called the 12 tribes whom he had prepared of the children of Israel, a man out of every tribe, Joshua said to them, "Cross before the ark of the covenant, your God, into the middle of the Jordan, and each of you pick up a stone and put it on your shoulder according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, that this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask in the future, saying, 'What do you mean by these stones?' then you shall tell them, 'Because the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the Yahweh's covenant. When it crossed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. These stones shall be for a memorial to the children of Israel forever." Very poetic. Not really dramatic, but he has a bit of a flair to it. Very inspirational. Everyone's sitting there going, "We love this idea. That is so fun." We all collect just like stones, and they're representative of kind of the parting of the Red Sea again. That's so cool. What a neat idea. Oh, what a neat idea. Where are the stones going to be? We're just going to leave them here. How's anyone going to find them then? If they're just, they'll see them. They'll walk along the Jordan. They'll see like just 12 random stones there. And then they'll know. Trust me. They'll know. That's Reuben's stone. They'll know. That's the stone that belongs to God. They'll be aware. It won't just look like 12 random stones. How long will that last? Your kids will know. Your kids will see them. Basically, one generation. Some kids will see it. The children of Israel did as Joshua commanded and took up 12 stones out of the middle of the Jordan, as Yahweh spoke to Joshua, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel. They carried them over with them to the place where they camped and laid them down there. Joshua set up 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan. Oh, so what? In the place where the feet of the priests who bore the Ark of the Covenant stood, and they are there to this day. Let's go. Let's go, Ron. Where's Ron Wyatt? Let's go. We know where the Jordan is. Let's go down to the River Jordan and let's find the middle. So we just have to find the middle of it. We can guess where it is probably. And let's go find 12 specific stones. So we have two sets of 12, right? There's 12 that are in the middle of the Jordan that Joshua set up. And then there's 12 that are on like where they're camping, which is like somewhere else on the other bank, on the other side, I suppose. We don't know that the ones that are on the land are still there, but we know that the ones that are under the water are still there and have not been. Of course, rocks don't get washed away. But like, do they get buried? Are they impossible to find? Or what do you mean by they're still there? This is the type of thing that like you people use in literature all the time, and they are still there to this day. And it's like, well, this is a fictional story that never even happened. So like if you were to try to go and see whatever it is still there, it's not. It's just like makes the story feel more real. And I think that this is what's going on. Unless somebody's found the 12 stones, but he set them up. So they sound like they're probably, he didn't just like toss a few pebbles, like he set them up. So they sound like they're probably pretty large stones. For the priests who bore the ark stood in the middle of the Jordan until everything was finished that Yahweh commanded Joshua to speak to the people, according to all that Moses commanded Joshua. And the people hurried and passed over. When all the people had completely crossed over, that seems to have already happened in the first verse of this chapter, but okay. Yahweh's ark crossed over with the priests in the presence of the people. Then what happened? The children of Reuben and the children of Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh crossed over armed before the children of Israel, as Moses spoke to them. About 40,000 men, ready and armed for war, passed over before Yahweh to battle to the plains of Jericho. That day, Yahweh magnified Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him as they feared Moses all the days of his life. I guess stopping water is like, obviously that is a massive, I'm not going to downplay like that is a miracle. Like that would look incredible. You'd be like, right? There's no dam there. It's just stopped. You've congealed it. You blew it with your nostril. That's what happened in Exodus. That's incredible. You heaped it up. Yahweh heaped water. He just heaped the water up on itself. Like that's incredible. That's magic, right? So if that's coming from Joshua, specifically, they're like, okay, he's our guy. It seems like it's the priests and the ark. The way it played out seems a lot like the priests and the ark are the common denominator here or what have you. Joshua, what he just like said to do it or something? I don't know. It was enough to convince them specifically that Joshua, he's your guy. So believe in him. They feared Joshua. They're afraid of him. He's got power. The way they feared Moses. I don't remember them like really fearing Moses that much because they said, "Who are you? Why are you marrying?" Whatever. I guess eventually they had a lot of fear for Moses. Yahweh spoke to Joshua saying, "Command the priests who bear the ark of the covenant that they come up out of the Jordan." This is one of those chapters that's like, are you repeating? Am I out of my mind? Are you repeating the story a few times? Like, this feels like this has already happened. They all walked out. I feel like everyone walked out ages ago, but whatever. Joshua therefore commanded the priests, saying, "Come up out of the Jordan, guys." When the priests who bore the ark of Yahweh's covenant had come up out of the middle of the Jordan, and the soles of the priests' feet had been lifted up to the dry ground, the waters of the Jordan returned to their places and went over all its banks as before. The people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month and encamped in Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. Oh, what I was going to mention was, it's weird that there's only 40,000 fighting men here, 40,000 soldiers. Now, of course, why send your whole entire army to fight one city? I get that would be strange. But like 40,000 men is nothing. They have over 600,000 fighting men, right? And they're just like, all right, we're going to send like who from Reuben and Gad and Manasseh? Like, is this just 40,000 men of those tribes? Or if it's like 40,000 men from all the tribes? Because then, like, there's so many of the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseites, which are not going. So I guess they're not all obligated to go, which is perfectly fine, which is good. But it's just a little bit like, man, you would have thought they would just send everyone and just like destroy them, or send none of them and just have God do it. Oh yeah, right. He doesn't actually do anything. He parts seas. I shouldn't say he doesn't do anything. He parts seas if people do the right sort of arbitrary, performative, ritualistic sort of nonsense out of the clear blue sky that like just stand there with the box. I'll stop the water. The box will not get wet. Joshua set up those 12 stones, which they took out of the Jordan in Gilgal. He spoke to the children of Israel, saying, when your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, what do these stones mean? Then you shall let your children know, saying, Israel came over this Jordan on dry land. For Yahweh your God dried up the waters of the Jordan from before you, and until you had crossed over, as Yahweh your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up before us until he had crossed over, that all the peoples of the earth may know that Yahweh's hand is mighty, and that you may fear Yahweh your God forever. So they're just basically going like, how do you indoctrinate kids? Well, you tell them fantastical stories of nonsense, stupid stuff that doesn't actually ever happened and will not ever happen again. We made up a myth. It's a really fun myth, and now indoctrinate your children with the myth. You know, because we made up this cool story, you might as well use it. And they'll be like, what he did, that's crazy. And you'll be like, not crazy. Perfectly reasonable thing to believe is true. God parted the sea twice, parted the river and then the Red Sea. So happens. You are just like Hebrew children. You're not able to swim deep in the bottom of river, right? Right? They're like, no, we can never swim deep in bottom of river. Right, exactly. What if eventually they have like masks or like ways of breathing underwater? They will never have that. They will never be able to check that this is true. So don't anyone go looking for the stones. All right, guys, that's it. That's chapter 4. I feel like we're doing a little bit of like dragging our feet. And maybe it's because these are like split up in chapters. Maybe like if they weren't split up in chapters, you would just read the whole thing and you'd like if this were like a proper novel or something like that, we're still in chapter 1. They've made the chapters too small, right? The chapter would be like quite a few pages. The book of Joshua, like the novel of Joshua, would be like, okay, cool. They're out there. We probably would go like one chapter until Jericho falls. You know, well, maybe if they got more detailed about the Rahab thing, that would have been the first chapter, and then chapter 2 would involve all of this stuff because it feels like we're kind of dragging things out a little bit, where it's just like, okay, we get it. You guys walked across it. You could have done that in one chapter. You parted the Red Sea in one chapter. You could have parted the Jordan, had everyone walk through it or over it in one foul swoop. So seems like we're just like taking our time. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. for being here. Like the video, maybe subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.